In today's tutorial, let's explore doing a large pumpkin together, and that's coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to be working on this pumpkin pattern, and there are 3 different sizes. There's large, I think this is medium, and then this is small. So we're going to be working on the large pumpkin today, and I'm going to go slowly through the pattern before we get started to give you some hints on what you're looking at for this pattern, because I got caught up in a few things here that I think is relevant for being able to teach you how to do this pumpkin. Overall, not very hard to do, really quite easy. Of course, I want to go big or go home, so I'm doing the big one here on camera today, but you can actually do the small ones too, and they're just as much fun. So without further ado, let's go through this pattern together, and I'll explain a few things along the way. Let's review this pattern, and I'm gonna go as slow as possible so that you can understand what you're looking at here, because there are 3 patterns mixed within this 2-page instruction list. So just so you know, this is not complicated. There's a lot of words here, but the reality is that it's very simple in order to crochet. So we have the big pumpkin, we have the mini pumpkin 1 and mini pumpkin 2. The difference between mini pumpkin 1 is that it's slightly smaller. So I think it's a smaller one here. It has the curly Q as it says, so you see it right there. Okay, so and then the other one, mini pumpkin 2, is including the stem, and that's up there. And then the big pumpkin is obviously this big monstrosity over here. So what I'm going to be doing today is that I'm going to be working through the instructions of the big pumpkin, but I want to show you some key elements when it comes to doing the smaller pumpkins, because there's relationships, because the stitch work is very similar because of the look that it's trying to achieve. Right off the bat, when we go to start these pumpkins, we're starting on the bottom and then we're working our way to the stem area at the top. Now when I go to start this, I notice with myself is that I'm not getting these ridge looking pieces in here. You have to give this pattern a chance in order to make that happen, and it's happening because we're doing some single crochets in between large sections to get that look. So when you're going to do the big pumpkin, I was getting confused, and I started really getting concerned when I started getting way up here, because I was not getting the ridges. And what I highlighted here is that I have 1 half double crochet, and these are the ones right in between all the sections, so you have a half double crochet. But what I did not realize is that when I came up to round number 6 is that it starts to do a 1 single crochet, so it starts to really pull it in, and then you really get the ridges. So one thing that I screwed up on when I was doing this is that I was doing 1 half double crochet and assuming that, without really reading this too carefully, that it was 1 half double crochets in between, but in actual fact it changes to 1 single crochet just like so, and it changes for the remainder of the pattern in order to get this beautiful ridging appearance of the pumpkin. So we're looking at the instructions, and we think we can just slam everything together and you'll have a pumpkin just like bada boom bada bing. The reality is that you're looking at some instructions, but after round number 8, especially on the large pumpkin here, is that you have to repeat this round 10 more times, and you're thinking it's gonna take forever. Well, it does slow you down, but it's part of the middle part of the pumpkin, and it is worth the effort. And off camera, this is where I've stopped so that I can pick up back here again. So once you have all of that done, it starts getting faster and faster as we get up. It's like a corner to corner. Starts off really quick, you get to the middle part, it's slowing you down, and then once you get that done, it gets really quick once again. Now once we get all these instructions done on the large pumpkin, we're going to do the stem work at the top, and you use a different color for that. And then there's a curly Q, and that is just basically the green part that you see right in the pattern itself. Okay, it's right there. So it's relatively easy. Now mini pumpkin 1 and 2 kind of confused me a bit, and I called Yarnspirations.com this morning to have a little bit of clarification on this particular pattern, because sometimes it's really hard to determine where the asterisks are. So in the mini pumpkin it says there's 2 asterisks here and there's 2 here, and I was thinking, why is that there? Because I was kind of confused. And so mini pumpkin 1, you start off like so, and so I put a fluorescent box around rounds number 1 all the way to 4, because this is identical to what is on the first pumpkin itself, on the big pumpkin, and then it changes here on round number 5, and then you do a repeat pattern for this 5, and then you continue down. Okay, and then we finish that pumpkin. Now mini pumpkin 2 See these double asterisks? That's where it falls in. So instead of rewriting all of this once again, it says to repeat the 2 asterisks to the 2 asterisks. So it's the 2 asterisks here repeating all the way to here. Okay, so you're gonna do all of this here. And then once you have that done, it says repeat 6 more times. So you saw over here it says repeat 4 more times. So this first one, mini pumpkin 1, is the smallest one, and then this one is the second largest, and then obviously the biggest one is the first one we're doing. So the stem that is provided here, you can provide it with the stem, and then the other one is with a curlicue, which is right here. So you can see that the smallest pumpkin here only has a curlicue. This one has a stem and a curlicue, and this one has a stem and a curlicue as well. Again, this is up to your creativity. You can do more than one curlicue too. That's completely up to you. So hopefully that this helps you understand this pattern a little bit more, and without further ado, we're gonna start diving into the pattern. You're going to need a size 4mm G crochet hook today. It does call for Lily Sugar and Cream just for this, and you can see the colors that's available to you. Okay, and it says MC, which is hot orange. On video camera today I'm going to be using Bernat Super Value, and this color is called Pumpkin. So I'm gonna be using that, and let's get started right now. So we're going to begin the big pumpkin, and it says for the note, chain 2 does not count as a half double crochet in the beginning of a round, and I'm gonna be explaining that as we go around. So we gotta keep an eye on that note, and we're just gonna keep on going throughout it. So once you understand this, the rest of this will actually make a lot of sense. So let's begin. Let's begin with a slip knot. And remember, there's slower tutorials available online. This is considered, I would consider this an intermediate project. Easy, experienced beginner, but definitely intermediate, I guess. So we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and insert your hook into the beginning chain, yarn over, and pull through, and you'll have a center ring, which will be the very center of the bottom of your pumpkin. So we're going to begin round number 1. So with this straggler, the loose end, just wrap it around the circle like it's part of the circle, and just crochet right over top of it, and it will get lost. So this time we're going to chain 2, and remember what I've already just said is that the chaining 2 that we start off with never counts as a half double crochet. So for example, we need to have 8 half double crochets around this entire ring, so normally this would count as 1, so therefore you'll half double crochet 7 more times, but because it doesn't count, it's more of a filler, I guess you can say. So we're going to put in 8 half double crochets all the way around the ring. So just go into the center of the ring, pull through, and this is half double crochet, so pull through all 3 loops. So that was 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And once you have your 8 done, you're just going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet. So not to the chain 2, but right into the first half double crochet. So that chaining of 2 that we started with is more of a filler, just to get you up to the right height. And so then that concludes round number 1. So round number 2, we're gonna chain up 2. Remember, it does not count as any of the stitches, and we're going to put in 2 half double crochets into each of the stitches going all the way around. So then this will take you from 8 half double crochets all around up into 16. So just in every stitch put in 2 half double crochets, and continue to do that all the way around. When you get all the way back around, just slip stitch to the first half double crochet. So skip right over that chain 2 and just go right for the first half double crochet, and there concludes round number 2. Round number 3 is when we're gonna start doing the bobbles or a puff stitch, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do it. So we chain up 2, 1 and 2, and it says a lot of instructions there. It says yarn over, so YOH is yarn over, and draw up a loop 3 times in the next half double crochet, yarn over, draw through all loops on the hook, chain 1 to close the stitch, and then it says 1 half double crochet in the next half double crochet, and repeat. So this is what it means. So we're gonna come up to the next one here, and we're gonna yarn over and go into the stitch, pull through, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull through, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull through like this. You have all of this beauty on your hook. Just yarn over and pull through everything. Okay, and you have to get used to doing that. And then just to seal the deal, so to close it, just chain 1 like so, and then the next stitch is just a half double crochet. So if you look at the pumpkin, you can see that it has like a raised look, and that's from these stitches here. So the next one again is the same thing. So just going in to the stitch, so yarn over, going in, pull through, yarn over, going in, pull through, yarn over, going in, pull through, and then just pull through everything. So you have to do it 3 times. Secure it by a chain 1 and then a half double crochet in the next. So here's what you're looking at here, is that there's 8 sides to this pumpkin, and basically at this time is that this is one side and then this is the space. So this will be the groove at some point in the project, and then this is another side. Let's do it one more time. So just yarn over, going into the next one, pull through, yarn over again, going into the same one, pull through, yarn over, same one, pull through, then yarn over, pull through everything, lock it with the chain 1, half double crochet into the next. You get it? So continue to do that all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way back around, and I'm about to do another bobble, and it'll be the last one of the round. Lock it, and then the last stitch here is just a half double crochet. So this chaining of 2 that we started with does not count as anything. It's a filler, and then we're just going to join this to the top of the first puff. Okay, so we just join it to the top of the first one, so don't mind that chain 2. Okay, so this pattern, when we get bigger and bigger, it's all gonna grow within these puff areas, and then this lines are gonna keep itself basically going up all the way easily all the way through the pumpkin. Let's move on to round number 4. Round number 4, we're gonna get bigger, and we're gonna grow within these puff stitches here, and these half double crochets are gonna stay where they are so that the lines carry on through. When we're working with the puff stitches, we work directly right over top where we've done the chain 1. This is my second take. I actually did over here by accident, and I realized I hadn't done that in my sample, so it was kind of my screw up. So I wanna look for the top of the puffs when I go to do this to keep everything in alignment. Let's chain 2, and it says in the instructions to put in 2 puff stitches into the next puff stitch, and then a half double crochet into the next half double crochet. So to do this, we're gonna do 2 puffs, so coming right into the top, do 1 puff, and it's exactly what you already know. I've just taught you that. Pull through everything, lock it with the chain 1, and then come back down into there again, the same spot, and do another puff. So this is how we're gonna increase, and we're gonna just do variations of this kind of idea in order to get bigger and bigger as we go throughout the pumpkin. Lock it with a chain 1, and then the next one here is just half double crochet in the next half double crochet. So you can see it just got bigger by 2 puffs. Let's try this one more time. So the next one is gonna be 2 puffs in the same puff. It's like a tongue twister. It's gonna get more fancier than this, so don't you worry. You're gonna lock it with a chain 1 and then another puff. And fancier means that there's just gonna be more puffs to work with in the future. It's not a deal breaker though, so stick with me, boys and girls. Okay, let's seal the deal by pulling it through everything. Lock it with a chain 1, and I lost some fibers there, so I'm gonna just pull out quickly. Just make sure I get everything I need. It does happen even to the best of us. Lock it, and then a half double crochet in the next. So continue that same pattern going all the way around. So 2 puffs into 1 puff, and then a half double crochet into the half. You can see it's starting to open up even more. Please do that, and I'll meet you back at the end of the round. When you come up all the way around, I got the 2 puffs in the 1. Don't forget you still have 1 half double crochet left, and then just join it to the top of the next puff, the beginning puff that you did. So ignore that chain 2. So this is what it looks like at this point. You can start to seeing it starting to come together, but it's not so obvious, and I was always so worried that I wasn't getting the ridges, and it's because it's not ready to do the ridges yet. So let's move on to round number 5. Round number 5, we're gonna get even bigger. So let's begin. We're gonna chain 2, and it says to do 1 puff in the next puff, one puff in between the two puffs, and then one puff in the next puff, and then a half double crochet. So let's just review. So the first one is gonna be one puff in the first puff, like so. Lock it with the chain one. Now this time this puff is gonna be in between the two. Just put it in the gap space. So we're gonna increase it right in between. Lock it with the chain one, and then the next puff is in the final puff of the three, or of the two that's there. Lock it with the chain one, and then it's a half double crochet in the next half double crochet. So I'll review that one more time. So you can see that it's gotten from 1 to 2 to 3. Let's do that again. So that it's gonna be a puff in the first puff, lock it with a chain one, a puff in between the two puffs, so just put it into the gap between them, lock it with a chain one, and then a puff in the final puff of the group of two. Okay, chain one to lock it, and then a half double crochet in the next. Continue to do that same pattern going all the way around, just like that. You can see how it's starting to build out. When you come all the way back around, do not forget to do the half double crochet in the final. Half double crochet just like so, and then just join it to the top of the beginning puff. There you go. So let's move on to round number 6, and this is where the game plan changes, and this is where the creases start to appear within your pumpkin. In round number 6 we're gonna get even more bigger. Okay, so we've gone from 1 puff to 2 to 3, and now we're gonna go to 4 puffs. So watch how we do it. So we're gonna chain up 2. Remember, it doesn't count as anything, it's just filler. So we're gonna do 1 puff stitch in the first puff. Okay, lock it down with the chain 1. We're gonna do another puff in the middle. We're gonna do 2 in this one. So 2 puffs in the middle puff. Okay, lock it down with the chain 1 and puff again into that same one. So the middle one of the group of 3 is always gonna have 2 puffs in it. Lock it with a single crochet, and then the final puff is 1 puff by itself. Now this is where it changes, and this is how I highlighted it when I talked about the instructions. We're only gonna single crochet now in between the puffs going forward for this pattern, and what this is gonna do, it's gonna pull it in a bit so it creates those ridges that you see on the pumpkin. Let's review that one more time. So the first puff that we're gonna run into is going to be 1 puff into it, lock it with the single crochet, or sorry, with the chain, and then the middle puff is gonna have 2 puffs. Okay, lock it with the chain and puff again in the middle. Lock it with the chain, and then the final puff is gonna be puff on its own. And you're going to notice, I was just kind of watching as I'm counting here, is that you can see it kind of indentates a little bit here, and so that's gonna get more and more, and that's what's gonna create the ridges. Lock it with a chain 1 and then a single crochet into the next half double crochet. So you're gonna notice it's gonna start doing this kind of flowering effect where it's just coming out more in here, and then where it comes for the creases it's gonna increase in, and that's what gives you the lift. So please do that all the way around. When you get all the way back around, do not forget to do that single crochet, and then you're just going to do a slip stitch to the top of the first puff stitch, like so. So you can see it's kind of almost having a flowering kind of effect, and that's gonna get more greater as we move to round number 7. So round number 7, I kinda got confused when I was working on this particular pattern, and so we're going to be making some more puffs, and I was confused on where I was on the project. So I'm going to just go slowly for you, and it's not confusing, it's just maybe my brain's just not firing. So what we have, it says 1 puff in the next stitch, which is your puff. Okay, it says 1 puff in between the next 2 puff stitches 3 times. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna come into the next puff area here. Okay, we're gonna come in between, we're gonna do the next puff, okay, then we're gonna come in between, next puff, one in between, and then the final puff. Does that make sense? So we're gonna be playing in between. There's 3 of them here, 3 gaps, so we want to put a puff in between plus on top of the other puffs that are there. So let's begin. We're gonna chain 2, and we are just gonna put in a puff in the top of the first puff. Okay, so this time we're gonna come into the space between the next puff and put in a puff. Lock it with a chain 1, don't forget that. We're gonna come into the next top of the next puff. Lock it with a chain 1. We're gonna come in between the 2 spaces, or the 2 puffs in the row below, the round below. Lock it with the chain 1, and then come into the top of that puff. So you're gonna see it really jetting out at this point, which is kind of the pumpkin shape itself. Lock it with a chain 1, come into the next space, sorry, I just didn't do that right. I just gotta pull it through everything, then lock it, and then the final puff is 1 puff. And you're really gonna see the pumpkin taking shape at this point as we go all the way around. Coming through, lock it with a chain 1, and then single crochet into the single crochet that's already there. So you can see that it just really opened out, just like you see there. Okay, so continue that. Let's review this one more time. So the first puff is going to get 1 puff. Okay, lock it. The next one is in between. Okay, the next one is on top of the next puff. Lock it. Okay, the next one is in between. Okay, lock it. The next one is on top of the next puff. And this is, I think, almost the hardest row there is around. Okay, and then the next one is in between the 2, the final 2. And then finally the last puff has a puff. Lock it, and then single crochet into the next. Okay, do you see that? So we're just really jetting out. So continue that same patterning. I think this is the hardest round that there is so far, and then it gets easier from here on in. Just finishing up round number 7. Do not forget to do a single crochet in the final. Okay, and then just join it to the top of the first puff. So the hardest part, I believe, is done on this whole thing, and now we're gonna move up to round number 8, and essentially what we're going to do is that we're gonna put a puff stitch in each one of the puff stitches as normal, and this is gonna make it balloon even more, but it's basically the size that it's gonna be. So let's move up to round number 8, and we'll move on from that point. So round number 8, really quite simple. We're gonna chain up 2 to begin, and it says puff stitch in the next in each of the puff stitches. So we have all these puff stitches, so it's 1 puff stitch each, and then a single crochet in the single crochet, just like that. So this is going to take a little bit before it starts to balloon up to be like a bowl shape. As you know, if anybody that's ever done hats, it always takes a few rounds in order for it to bowl up, and we're just going to just puff stitch in each one of the puff stitches on their own. So it's gonna continue to get bigger and bigger. Don't forget to lock it down with the chain 1. Okay, now there's the final puff stitch here. Okay, and just single crochet in the next. Single crochet. So you can see that it's gonna start balling up like this, and then it's gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. Please do the same configuration all the way around. I'm not gonna do this whole round on camera, but I'm just gonna explain a few things to you because I have another sample off camera that will take us to the next part of this tutorial as well. Once you finish round number 8, you're gonna stop, and it says to repeat the last round 10 more times. So you're gonna repeat the round number 8 10 more times, which will give you this look here, and it's gonna get bigger and bigger. So look at the difference of the two shapes. So it's gonna get bigger quite a bit before it starts to bowl up, just like you see here. And you can see that the ridges are now taking effect at the base, which I was concerned about at some point in here. So this is going to take you to the next part of this tutorial. So after you complete 10 more rounds of round number 8, you're going to be ready for the next part of this tutorial, and we're gonna start then getting smaller and smaller as then we go to the top of the pumpkin. So please make sure that you get your 10 rounds done and of round number 8, and then you're gonna meet me back here in just a moment as I show you how to finish off and how to get smaller. And don't forget to always put in your single crochets in the end, and then slip stitch to the top of the puff to begin. So continue to do that, and I'll see you back here, and this will say next round in your pattern as we move up into this project. So if you're following me in the pattern at this point, we've just finished off round number 8. We have to repeat that 10 more times, and then we're gonna start decreasing here in the next round. It says next round, next round, next round, and it just is quite easy to do. And then we're gonna finish off this pumpkin, get the stem on it, do a curlicue, and we're good to go. So let's move along to the next part here. Chain number 2, next round after the 10 rounds are complete. For the next round it says chain 2, which doesn't count as anything, and it says puff stitch in the space, SP means space, between the next 2 puffs. So you will notice that there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 puffs. So if you go into the between the 2, so you got 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So it says to repeat 6 times. So what we're going to be doing is that we're gonna be doing the puff stitch in between. Okay, so we're not on this round going on top of a puff stitch. So we just come right in between the puffs, and this is knocking off the puff by 1 and making it 1 shorter. So therefore you're gonna start seeing it decreasing at the top of the pumpkin. And this is pretty easy. It's just ramming it into the gap. Make sure we lock it with that chain 1. Okay, so I'm just looking for where the next single crochet appears to kind of keep me in balance. It's right here. So here's the last puff of the group, and if I would have done it right, I would be done. Okay, lock it down. So we're gonna just skip over and just single crochet into the next single crochet. So we've just now gone from 7 puffs now to 6, and continue that same pattern and going all the way around. So just when you start the next puff, go in between the first one and the second one to start, and then each space in between. Continue that same idea going all the way around. When you come all the way back around, do not forget that you still have to do the single crochet into the final single crochet, and then slip stitch it to the first puff like that. That concludes the first one of round number of the next round. Let's move along and let's get even smaller, and you can start to see that it's coming more and more in. It's pretty cool. The next round we're going to continue to chain 2. Remember, it doesn't count as anything, and this time there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 puffs. This time we're gonna puff in between the first and second one, and then the next one, and next one, next one, and next one. So then there will only be 5 this time. So let's do a puff in between the first 1 and 2 puffs, lock it down, and then go into each space in between until you get to the single crochet section. You can see if you get your tension right with these puff stitches, it speeds up. And here's my single crochet, so I'm keeping an eye on that one, and I'm just gonna do a puff in between the last 2 puffs from the round below. Okay, and then I single crochet into the next one like so. Okay, so we're gonna get smaller and smaller, and you can see it more buckling. So when we go to jump to the next one, remember in between the next puffs, so not here, right over here, and puff again, and do that all the way around. When you come all the way back around, do not forget to do a single crochet in the final single crochet and slip stitch to the first puff. So reach on over, okay, and you can see it's starting to, this would be a really cool bowl too. So let's begin to do the next round. So it's gonna get faster and faster as we get less and less stitches as we go. So let's go on to the next one. We're gonna chain 2, doesn't count as anything, and we look and we have 5 puff stitches this time, and we're only gonna play within the 4 spaces in between them. So jump between 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then single crochet, and then 1, 2, 3 and 4. So let's just start you off. So we puff in between the first 2, 1 and 2. Then we puff in between the next spaces. I almost think decreasing is almost easier than it is increasing. Never heard that from me though. Okay, and finish it off with a chain 1. Okay, this is the final, so there's only 4 puff stitches in each section going around. Lock it, and then single crochet to the next. This is a really easy pattern. Okay, so you can kind of see that we've been going bigger, so you see how it's just up there and then it's starting to come in and go smaller and smaller. Please do that same patterning going all the way around, so you have the next group of 5, you're only gonna play in the 4 spaces in between, single crochet and so forth. So I'm coming up all the way around. Do not forget to do that single crochet in the final and then slip stitch it to the top of the next puff. So we're getting closer and closer, the hole is getting more and more narrow, and let's move on to the next part. Let's move on to the next part. Chain up 2, which doesn't count as anything. We now have only 4 puffs, and we're gonna crochet in the 3 gaps in between those. So just jump in between 1 and 2 and puff, and then next between the next 2, lock it, and then the next one. Okay, so you're only doing 3 puffs this time, so it's really gonna start condensing on you. Lock it, and then single crochet into the next single crochet that's available to you. Okay, so continue to do that. So there's only 4 puffs, only go between the 3 gaps in between, 4 puffs, and then single crochet into the next, and continue to do that all the way around. When you come all the way back around, do not forget to do that last single crochet, and then just join it to the top of the next puff that's available to you. Like so. Let's move on to the next round, and it's starting to really come out really nice. It's cool. Let's begin the next one. The next round we're gonna chain 2, which counts as nothing. Now there's only 3 puffs per section now, and we're only gonna put puffs in between the first 1 and 2, and then the next one. So there's only gonna be 2 puffs in a row this time. Okay, so they go into the next one. Like so. Lock it, and then single crochet into the next single crochet. Okay, so there's only gonna be 2 puffs this time around. So you see 3, you're only puffing in between the 2 gaps there, and then single crochet. Please do that all the way around. When you get all the way back around, please do not forget to do that last single crochet and join it to the top of the next puff that's available to you. So now I need you to grab your stuffing, and we're gonna start stuffing this because you're not gonna get your hand in there much sooner or much later in this project. So let's begin to stuff it. Don't go crazy with the stuffing. You wanna make sure that it looks like it's kind of flattened out as in the pattern, and let me show you that in just a sec. So we want to make sure that we don't overstuff the pattern, so you don't want to turn this into a big ball. You do want it to kind of like lump out so that the interior kind of falls down. The underside would just be flat as well. So we want to keep it so that it's keeping the shape without going crazy with the stuffing. So before we move on, I want you to stuff your pumpkin. Don't overstuff it. I think I might have a little bit too much in here, but I can always pull more out if I have to. And we're gonna move up to the next round, and this round we're no longer doing the puff stitch, so you're gonna be all excited about that for sure. And what we're going to do then is to just chain up 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to put in a half double crochet into each stitch around. So we're no longer worrying about puff stitches, so I know you're happy about that. So we're gonna put in a half double crochet in the first puff, go into the half double crochet into the next puff, and then a half double crochet into the single crochet. And you're gonna continue that same patterning going all the way around. So 1 into the next puff, 1 into the next puff after that, and then 1 into the single crochet. Continue to do that all the way around, and you're gonna see it's still gonna come more narrow as you do it. When you get all the way back around, you're just going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet. So we don't worry about this chaining 2. Just go right for the first half double crochet and slip stitch like so. Let's move on to the next round. Okay, in the next round we're gonna decrease even more, and this time we're gonna do half double crochet 2 together. So we're gonna make 2 into 1. So let's begin. This chain 2 doesn't count as anything, and let me just move this camera up a little bit because I'm a little taller. Okay, so it says to half double crochet into the first one, no big deal, got it. And now the next one is a half double crochet 2 together. So how we do that is that we yarn over and go into the next stitch and pull through and hold that on your hook. We yarn over and go into the very next stitch, pull through and hold on your hook. So you will have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 5. And so you've just now made 2 stitches into 1. Okay, so now we're going to go all the way around. So we're gonna do 1 half double crochet into the next, and the next 2 are half double crochet 2 together. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull through, hold, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull through and hold, and now you have 5 loops again, pull through everything, and then that becomes together. Continue that same pattern going all the way around. So half double crochet next, and then the next 2 are 2 together. When you finish this round you should have 2 loops left, or 2 stitches left, so you can do your half double crochet 2 together in order to make it work, and then you're just going to slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet. So everything is gonna get a little bit tighter in your hands, but it will work out and you'll be amazed. So we're almost done, and let's keep going. Okay, the final round of the orange is pretty good, and we are just going to just put half double crochet together. So let's just chain 2, doesn't count as anything. So the next 2 stitches that you have are gonna be together. Okay, and they're half double crochet 2 together, and you just keep going like that. So basically every 2 stitches are gonna come together. Okay, and we just go all the way around with that. Right back to the start, and we're gonna leave a generous tail at the end of this because we're gonna use a darning needle and pull this completely shut at the top, and then we're gonna start the stem. So the stem doesn't actually start up from this section here. It is more of an add-on that's done afterward, and we'll be doing that as well. So it's 2 together, and the final 2 should be 2 together. And then just join it to the top of the first 2 together that you started with, and you will see that there's still a hole in the top. So you're gonna use this strand, and we're going to use a darning needle and close it off at the top. So just do a nice generous length that you have enough that you can sew that shut, and I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. Okay, grab your darning needle and insert your yarn into the eye of the needle. and just go in the top section. So there's only 8 stitches around, so it's like kind of like a clothesline, so just go in and out of every stitch. Don't pull it tight until the very end, and it'll pull everything nice and tight together. So I think I've overstuffed this slightly, so I can just reach my hook in between some of these stitches and just kind of pull out some yarn. So once I'm all the way around, I'm going to just pull up on this. See, and it just pulled it nice and closed, and then using the darning needle just fasten it. The stem is gonna go right over top of this anyway, but I still want to do a nice job of it anyway. Okay, so just secure that off with a knot. Just weave in your ends and continue. So let's begin the stem of this project next. So this is my own personal thought. So I turned it over and look at these beautiful grooves that's happened on the bottom side versus the top. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm using my own creativity at this point. I'm going to put my stem on the bottom side of this instead of the top. It doesn't say to do that, and you know what? I think I'm gonna do it anyway because this looks more prettier with these grooves on the upper side, because really it's hidden when it's underneath. So I'm gonna do that because that's what it's my creativity, right? You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to be doing the stem next that will go on top of my pumpkin. So I'm gonna put that aside, and I'm using Bernat Super Value again, and this color is called Gingerbread. I just have it in my collection and I think it's gonna be okay for a stem. So let's begin and do the stem next. To begin the stem, we want to create a slip knot using the same size crochet hook, which was a 4mm size G. So insert your hook into your slip knot, chain 2, 1 and 2, and then it says 8 single crochets, second chain from the hook. So just go back to the first chain and do 8. So 1, just single crochets, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if there's not enough room just shift it, and 8. And it says to join with the slip stitch to the top of the beginning single crochet. Okay, so that's round number 1. It says to chain 1 and then 2 single crochets in the first single crochet and 2 single crochets in each of the single crochets around. So we're just going to put 2 single crochets into the first one and then 2 into each one of the next all the way around. So there's 2 stitches, and I want to keep count, so this will be number 4 and 5, number 6 and 7 and 8. That just helps me just to keep balance, and there's 2 in each one, and then just join it to the top of the beginning single crochet that you started with, and that concludes round number 2. Round number 3, chain up 1, and it says for putting 1 single crochet in each of the back loops only. So if you're new to crochet, each of the stitches have 2 strands, and if you go into the full 2 strands it's a stitch. If you go into the front one only, okay, that's a front loop, and if you go into the back one only, it's a back loop. So in this case what we want to do is we chain 1 and we're gonna go into the back loop for each one for a single crochet. So 1 back loop single crochet into each one all the way around. And what this is doing is it's will create a bend in your project so that you have a nice flat top of your stem. Please do that. So back loop back loop single crochet all the way around. Once you're all the way back around, just slip stitch to the first single crochet. Okay, so you can see that's kind of a bend in the project. Let's begin round number 4. So round number 4, just simply chain up 1, and it's 1 single crochet into each one of them going all the way around. Once you get this done, it says to repeat 9 more times, so you're gonna want to repeat this round for a total of 10 times. So please do that and we'll come back. So just continue to go around You can do a continuous round if you wanted to. It doesn't really, I can't see it making much of an impact, and all that means is that when you get all the way back to the start, just kind of go up over top, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And for this type of project you won't have any seam lines if you do it the way I'm about to show you. And again, I'm ad-libbing from the project a little bit. Okay, so once you get all the way back around, just single crochet right over top into the next one without doing any chain one, and it will do a continuous revolution like so. So please do that round for a total of 10 times. So once you get your 10 done, we're going to move on to the final round, and the final round makes it open up so it sits on top of the pumpkin like so. So let's begin. We're going to just chain up one, and it says to half double crochet, 1 half double crochet into the next one, and then it says to continue to 1 double crochet into the next one, and it'll make sense in just a moment. 1 treble into the same one, then 1 double into the same one, and 1 half double into the same one. So all of that is inside one idea, and this will make it like it's like the stem on the top of a pumpkin. And it says to 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. So just go into each of the next 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're gonna repeat the same thing over once again. So it's gonna be 1 half double, it's gonna be a double, it's going to be a treble, one double, and 1 half, and then the next 3 are going to be single crochets. I want you to continue that same patterning going all the way around, so it creates like these ridges, okay, on the top of the pumpkin, just like you would see it on a pumpkin, and continue that, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So I'm coming up all the way back around, so you will have, like you look at it from the top, you will have almost 4 corners, and then you just slip stitch it to the beginning half double crochet like so. Okay, so it's almost like a square that's left on the top, and now we're gonna fill this with stuffing and then sew this directly. So when you go to cut this string, make sure that you leave enough on there so that you can use it as a sewing string onto the top of your pumpkin. So grab your stuffing, and then I'll just quickly review on how to sew. Okay, using a darning needle, I want you to insert your yarn into the needle, and I have already stuffed it off camera just like you see. And now let's grab our pumpkin back, and as I said, I'm gonna leave mine upside down so that it has these beautiful ridges on the top, and all I just wanna do is center it into the middle like so. Okay, and I wanna just start, and I wanna go down, so I'm gonna just go straight down into the orange, okay, and then back out. I know it's kinda hard to see. Okay, and what I wanna do is I wanna do my best to get this stem so it's right in the center of this whole pumpkin. So once it's down in the orange, I wanna come back up and grab it by the stem again in a different part of the stem. Once I start getting all the way around, this will be more secure, and it's easier to put this in my lap to be able to secure it, and then I can look straight down. So just go in and out, just getting it in closest to the center, and then we just have one more part to go, and it's the curly Q, and it's the final touches. Okay, so now my stem is in place. I have sewn it. I put a little slight bend on it. It was just a matter of just bending it like so, because I know that most pumpkins don't have a straight up, and it's actually pretty cool. So now it's time for a little curly Q, and it's just kind of a little bit of vine. It's only one piece, and we're gonna do that right after this. Let's begin the curly Q. I'm just gonna use some green. You can, this is great stash busting ideas here, and just same size hook, 4mm size G, and it says to chain 20. Remember, the one on the hook for the slip knot doesn't count as one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So just get your 20, and let's just do the next part. second chain from the hook, it says to do 3 single crochets. So just turn it over and just do 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and it says to put in 3 single crochets into each one of the chains going all the way back, and this will cause it to have a severe curl to it because you're putting in too many stitches into one stitch, and so you'll notice that it will go in continuous spiral circles, which if that happens to you, it means you're on the right track. So each one of the stitches, please do 1 or 3 single crochets into each one of the chains going all the way back, and then fasten off, and then we're gonna sew that to the bottom of the stem of your pumpkin. So I'm coming up all the way to the last chain. I've been doing 3 single crochets all the way across. 1, 2 and 3. That's it. So just leave an extra long tail. That's probably way too long, but that's okay. And just trim and just yarn over and pull through that loop to lock it. And you're gonna want to weave in this end from the start anyway, so we'll do that, and then we're just gonna use this long string to just sew it to the base of the stem of the pumpkin. And so to sew it, just put on a darning needle and just go into some stitches, lock it down, and then just be able to do that. So it's kind of really cool. That's a curlicue. So this is my cute little pumpkin. I'm really actually kind of proud of this. Really excited about it. I love the grooves in it. I can make this as a centerpiece for my table, whether you're celebrating Halloween or Thanksgiving, or you're just celebrating the harvest. I think it's a really neat idea, and it's really quite whimsical. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. Stay tuned for more free ideas and patterns coming up real soon. We'll see ya. Bye bye.